Hey folks, welcome back. I'm David and we're here in my shop where I build Ewar guitars. Well, this is going to be the third video in the how to build an electric guitar tutorial series that I'm working on. And this is the last of the three videos that's dealing with design. I know I've spent a lot of time on this, but remember this has been aimed at a beginning guitar maker, and I'm trying to show you all the steps you have to go through and all the things you have to consider while designing your guitar and getting it right on paper first before you start hacking up a bunch of wood. Anyway, so in this video, we're going to take and we're going to do the profile view of the guitar. In other words, if you were going to take a guitar and split it right down the middle, all the way through from the headstock all the way down to the other end of the guitar, and look at it from the side, you're going to be able to see all the things like your bridge height, your pickup pocket holes, depths. You're going to be able to see the neck pocket, the all-important neck pocket. We're going to be able to figure out the break angle on the neck. We're going to get the break angle on the headstock. We're going to get all that stuff figured out. Anyway, I think it's going to be very interesting, and I hope you dig it. And if you do dig it, I hope you give me a like and subscribe. Anyway, I appreciate it, and let's get rolling with the video. Okay, so we've basically got the body and the neck laid out from the top view. What I want to do is I want to determine some thicknesses and some break angles and stuff like that. So we're going to go ahead and draw the side cutaway view. So we're going to start by, we're going to transfer all of our lengths basically onto this section of paper right here, and then we're going to draw the side profile of the body and the neck. So I'm going to use my grid lines on the paper as somewhat of a guide. Get me some light pencil marks down here. So what I'm doing is I'm marking all the critical points. I'm marking both ends of the body. I'm marking the bridge. I'll mark the end of the fretboard, the 22nd fret, the 12th fret, and I'll mark the nut up on the end. And these are going to be all the points that I'll need to draw the side profile of the guitar and have it match the frontal view. Now I'm just going to check for the heck of it, make sure I didn't get off on my measurements. From there to there, 25 inches, good. All right. I forgot one. Also want the top of the guitar body right where it meets the neck, which is the high point of the body. Right there. Okay. So I'm just going to write 22 next to that guy. Whoop. 12 next to that guy. Nut. Okay, bridge. 25. End. Okay. So now that that is done, I'm going to get my little straight edge over here. I'm going to draw a line that will basically represent the bottom of the guitar. And no doubt you're looking at the back of my head right now. Okay. That looks good. Okay, so one thing I want to make sure is on the edge of the guitar, which is represented by these lines down here, I want to make sure I have enough width of flat space in between my binding. It's going to get a maple binding, and the top of the radius on the back. I'm going to do a 3/8 radius on the back, and so I've got to make sure I have this thickness here on the flat on the side. So I'm going to go ahead and lay that out now. So I've got my little circle drawn thing here, and I'm just going to pick a 3/8 radius right here, and I'm going to draw that guy right there. That should be the radius. So my flat starts right about here, and this guy is just a tad over an inch, okay? So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to lay out just a little bigger than an inch. Then I'm going to mark 1/4 inch. That's the rim, that's the top of my binding on the side. So let's see. I'm going to go ahead and draw this through. Just so I'll have that continuous mark there. That looks pretty good. Top of binding right there. And what does that give me so far for a thickness on the guitar? Okay, so that's about, so from the bottom of the, very bottom of the guitar up to the top of the binding, it's going to be about 1 3/8 of an inch. Okay, maybe just a little bit more than that. All right. So I did that so I could determine the thickness of my cap. This here is my jack plate. Now, in general, guitars are about, electric guitars are about 1 3/4 thick. Okay. And if I measure to the bottom, I actually want my, let's see, here's the bottom of my binding. And I want a little bit of the top to show out, so I'm going to give that about a 1/16 of an inch. Okay. So from here to the top, that's about 5/8 of an inch. I want to maximize the carve on top of this thing. So I'm thinking I may go as much as 3/4 of an inch for the overall thickness of my top, which that is going to give me, it's about 1 13/16. I may even bump that just a tad more to 1 7/8, and that would be only at the very center of the carve, and then it'll cut back. So I got to think about that. I got to make sure that that's going to work. You know, I've got my bridge to consider, the height of my bridge right here. I've got my neck angle to consider. Let's see, if I did that and I came down 3/4, that would make this thickness of the body, if I do that, should be 1 1/8. Let me put some thought into that. Okay, so what I've done here is I have taken and I've transferred some of these critical dimensions, which is the top and, you know, the top and bottom of the body. I've done the bridge, I've done the 12th fret, I've done the 22nd fret. I've transferred all these lines down to here to give my profile view or my cutaway view of the guitar body and the neck. See, I got the 12th fret and also have the nut drawn up here. So what I've done, we need to have a flat area on the edge of the guitar that's big enough to accept this jack plate. And I like to have my jack plate lay from the underneath the binding to this 3/8 radius over here, which I'm going to radius the back of this guitar with a 3/8 router bit. So I started with that. I got that dimension there. And then I determined the body, the Honduran mahogany part of this body, the back of the body, I want to make that 1 1/8 inches thick, okay? Which is this line right here, okay? And then this line, in between these two lines, that's my 1/4 inch. That's my maple binding I'm going to put on here. And that little skinny 1/16 of an inch line right here, that's going to be a little bit of the Zericody wood showing in between the binding and the Honduran mahogany. I think that'll look pretty cool. And then I determined, so this is going to be a carved top guitar, and I want to get the maximum amount of room to carve. So on top of the binding, I gave myself it's about a 1/2 inch. It's a little under a 1/2 inch. And because this binding is going to be the level rim around the edge of the guitar. So I did that. So what I wound up with is basically 3/4 of an inch of a thickness on the top, okay, sitting on top of an 1 1/8 Honduran mahogany body, which is going to give me an overall height of 1 7/8 inches, which I know is a little thicker than your normal guitar. But like I said, I wanted to maximize my depth of carve, because this is going to do a bit of a bell carve in here. And I just want to have as much room as possible. So, and I've also laid out here, I just measured up my bridge. I took my bridge, put the post in, I dropped into its lowest possible height, and I measured from where it would touch the top of the body to the top of the saddles, and that's 39/64, which is a little under 5/8 of an inch tall. So I went ahead and marked that out here at my bridge line right here. So now I'm going to start doing a little bit of math and figuring out my neck, because I'm going to have a break angle on this neck that's going to land the strings, or what I should mean to say is it's going to land the top of the frets with a straight edge right on top of the frets. It should come up here, and the top of the fret should hit this lowest point on my bridge, with the bridge set at its lowest possible point. And that way I could adjust this up to get my proper action here on the string. So I'm going to start working on that, and then I'll bring you back in a second and I'll show you what I've done with that. Okay, so let me see if I can explain what I've done here to arrive at my neck angle. So like I said, here's the body. I did this at 1 7/8 thick so I can maximize the amount of carve I can get on the Zero-Cody top. And then I measured off of that at precisely in the bridge location, the 39/64, which is the height of my bridge that I checked. Okay, so I made that mark here, and then down here I have the nut. That line there represents the nut. And so what I did was, this red line you see here would represent the very top of the frets on the center of the fretboard. And let me see if I can point out here. So these marks here, from here to here, those two little marks, that is 5/16 of an inch, which is my 1/4 inch thick fretboard, and then the fret on top of it. So this red line is the top of the frets. And so what I did was, the normal thickness for guitar body, electric guitar body, is 1 3/4. So I measured up here 1 3/4 off of the bottom, okay? And that's the back side of my fretboard. And I want that back of the fretboard to break right through on the plane of the body. So the back of the fretboard is basically going to be flush with the top of the body. And then I brought this mark up here, okay, the 5/16, which is the top of the fret. And now I want my bridge saddles in their lowest position to plane out with the top of the frets all the way along the neck, okay? So what I did then is I came over here to this top of the bridge position, okay, made a mark. I have my mark here at the top of the fret, with the fretboard sitting all the way down on 1 3/4 thick guitar body. And I basically drew a line all the way through. And then I took my little angle finder right here, and I determined it was 3 degrees of a tilt, and that sounds right to me. So I think this is going to work out fine. I've done it this way before, and I think that should work out just right. This is a different bridge than I've used before, and it's a different thickness body, so I wanted to make sure I went through and did it all again, because it's a hell of a lot easier to change it on paper than once you got all these parts made and getting ready to put it together. So what's going to wind up happening is, like I said, I want the center of this guitar to be 1 7/8 thick to maximize my contour area, and but I'm going to now taper this, because my pickup rings, they have a slight taper to them to accommodate the taper going from the to lay up on top of the body to where the top of the pickups are flat, and so like I said, that's a slight angle to do that, and that's around 3 degrees too, it seems like to me, from as best as I can measure. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to measure first. So I have 5/16 of an inch there. Okay. So I'm going to come down here. Well, let's see. Let me do it this way. So my bridge is going to be, it's going to stop about here. So I'm going to come just a little ways from the bridge. So right about here. So my body, I'm going to angle this body. I'm going to plane off the top of this body after it's made on this line right here. And I know my arm's probably right in the way. Okay, so that's going to be the angle of my body. That line is if it was flat. That's the angle of my body. And that should be the bottom of the fretboard right there. So I think that looks good. This is the top of my fretboard. okay? This, or the top of my frets. So I now have to figure out, let's see, if I go to the bottom, where's my little square? Okay, I want to make all these measurements square off of the thing. Better flip it over into a measurement I can read. Okay, so there's our 5/16 of an inch, okay? My necks, I like to make my neck heels 1 1/4 inches. So 1 1/4 inches plus 5/16 would be 1 9/16, which is that guy right there. Okay, now I'm going to come over to here. Let's see. Let me figure out where my, because my neck heel is going to go all the way through underneath the neck pickup. So that neck pickup is going to be right about here somewhere. Okay, so I have my 1 9/16 right here. Okay, now I'm going to come over here and do my 1 9/16 here as well. Yep. Gotta get it just right. 1 9/16. Now, that is my neck pocket right there. Okay, that should be my neck pocket. That's the angle of the top of the guitar. I think I'm going to erase this original flat line. I'll still be able to see it, but just to help eliminate some of these lines. Okay, I probably don't need these guys in here either. Okay, but I still want my fretboard end and my 22nd fret to show. So, okay, so that is that. Now I have to come up here to my 1st fret, which I'll have to lay that out. Okay, so what I've done here, I have first determined the back of my fretboard, which is where it's going to cross over 1 3/4 inches at the tuner side of the body, at the headstock side of the body. And I came up 1/4 inch. The center of my fretboard is going to be 1/4 inch. Okay. Now I want to measure the thickness of the neck, and it's going to be different in 2 spots. And I start out with this right here. So I'm going to come over here at the 12th fret, and I'm going to mark 1 inch. Okay. And then I'm going to go, then I'm going to go to the 1st fret, and I'm going to mark about 89 1/100ths. Okay. Now that's from the top of the fretboard. I'm going to try to line that up square right there. Okay. So what that gives me is the neck thickness itself without the fretboard at the 12th fret, about 3/4 inch. Okay. And at the 1st fret, it's going to be about 5/8 inch. So that's the way they always come out. I just wanted to check myself. Now I'm going to draw the straight line here, and this is the side view of our neck thickness, the back of the neck. So we're going to go ahead and draw that through like so. Okay. Now, of course, down here at the heel, I'm going to do some sort of a taper deal. It's going to probably from here, that's the depth of my neck pocket. It's probably going to do something like so. But that shape will be determined later on. Okay, now, so I've got the thickness of my neck. Now I want to come up here next, and if I could find my nut somewhere, which is probably back in its drawer. Well, son of a gun, what happened to my nut? Don't you hate it when you lose your nuts? I'm sure I'm going to be editing this out because nobody needs to see me wandering around looking for my nuts. Come on now. There you are, you little bugger. Trying to hide from me. Okay, I found my nut. Okay, so that nut is going to basically sit right about here. So I'm just going to mark that width right here. Okay, so that's going to be a little flat ledge. Flip this guy around. Just about there. Okay. And that is where I want my neck break angle to begin. And I do those at 13 degrees. Which is right there. Right about there. Okay, that's my headstock break angle. And now I want to measure 5/8 of an inch because that's where I start with my headstocks. Of course, it's going to get a cap, but this is just the overall. This is the overall thickness. Okay, I'm going to draw this line here. Okay. So that's my headstock, and then in here somewhere is going to wind up being a volute. Some shape, something like this. Of course, all this gets done by hand, so this isn't terribly critical, and I try to set that right below the volute. Okay, so let me just check here the length of this guy, just so I could extend those lines as far as it needs to go. So about, that's about 7 3/4, let's say. So somewhere, extend this little guy. Okay, something like that. So let's see if we got it all. We've got our bridge, we've got our fretboard, and it's going to end right here. That's the end of our fretboard. It's going to come down. We've beveled the top of the guitar slightly between the inside the bridge to the end of the guitar body. We've set our neck pocket at a 3-degree angle. We have our neck set at a 3-degree angle. We have our fretboard laid out. The red line is our string, the bottoms of our strings, or not the bottom of the strings, these are the top of the frets at the center. And I think we've got it good. And we've determined the thickness of our top too. So I think we got a long way with this one. I think that looks pretty good. Well, folks, that's about it for now. I hope you got something out of it. I enjoyed doing it. And so we are now done with the design on paper, and next week we're going to start making some sawdust and turning that paper into actual usable templates we can make a guitar out of. Anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful week. God bless you, and we'll catch you all in the next one.